So, what if the one thing our entire world is built on, money, is just a grand illusion? It's a pretty wild thought, right? Well, that's the core question we're going to explore today, pulled from Dr. Qasem Koufahi's incredible work, The Papers of Illusion. Let's dive in and see what this fable has to say about the real nature of wealth.
So the story kicks off not with economics, but with something closer to a myth. Money isn't just currency here. It's introduced as this hidden, almost magical force in the world. And right away, that just forces you to think differently about the paper in your wallet, doesn't it?
So, what was the big appeal? What was the draw of this hidden entity? Well, it all started with a whisper, a hidden promise that, as it turns out, was almost impossible for people to resist.
And think about the language being used here. The promise wasn't about, buying stuff. It was way bigger than that. It was about wiping out our deepest fears. People saw this metallic light and genuinely believed it could buy them a life without anxiety, maybe even grant them immortality. It was pitched as the ultimate solution.
And this just paints such a powerful picture, right? Imagine someone in the desert, completely parched, clinging to the hope of a mirage. The text is basically saying that our chase for money is exactly like that. This desperate pursuit of something that promises salvation, but might not even be real.
Okay, so you've got this promise of an open door to everything. But of course, there's a dark twist. The very thing that promised all this freedom, it starts to feel a lot more like a prison. And that's the big paradox, you see. You think you've bought your way into this amazing palace, this fortress of security. But the story says those walls, the ones you built with money, they start closing in. They become these huge, empty rooms that end up feeling like lonely, silent cells. The freedom you were promised was actually just another kind of trap.
And this really gets to the heart of the illusion. See, money can get you the container, but it can never buy you the contents. You can buy all the medicine in the world, but you can't buy health. You can build a massive palace, but you can't purchase real security. And yeah, you can own the most luxurious bed ever made, but it can't guarantee you one single night of peaceful sleep.
And this is where we see the ultimate delusion, right? The belief that you could actually use wealth to conquer death itself. People were stacking up gold coins as if each one bought them another second of life. But as the story puts it, time just laughed at their ignorance and kept on ticking, completely undefeated.
So, what happens when an entire society is built on this illusion? Well, the story zooms out from just one person to show us the collective cost. And we see entire cities that start to feel hollow, completely soulless. I mean, just look at what's being sold in these cities. It's all about the surface, completely stripped of any real substance. You can buy a tree, but it has no roots. You can own the land where a river used to be, but the water's gone. You can buy a house, a structure of wood and stone, but you can't buy the feeling of a warm, loving home. And that's the great bargain of this world, isn't it? Everything has a price tag. Everything is for sale. Everything, that is, except the things we actually need to survive. Peace of mind, true friendship, or just one of those simple moments of clarity you can only get when your heart is truly at ease.
And that brings us to the final act, the climax of the story, the moment of truth. When life itself is ending, what's the final verdict on the value of money?
The story just puts the question right out there. Imagine spending your whole life piling up wealth. You have a vault full of gold. And now, in that final moment, the ultimate test of its worth, what's the exchange rate?
So, what's all that gold worth? In that final moment, what can it possibly buy you? One more day? Maybe one more hour? What's the price?
And there it is, the punchline of the whole fable. All the wealth in the world, every piece of gold ever mined, can't buy you a single final breath. In the only market that truly matters, the one of life and death, money is completely, utterly worthless.
So that's the lesson, the one that the people in the story learn way too late. Money is a tool. It's great for buying things, but it can never, ever be a tool for buying meaning, or for stopping death, or for getting a do-over. That's a line it just can't cross.
So we're left with this huge question, one that goes way beyond the story itself. If this whole chase for money is just chasing a mirage, then we have to ask ourselves a much bigger question. What's real? What actually has value? And, well, that's the thought I'm going to leave you with.